Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another FPC NFL Sunday. This is October the 3rd. That's right. It is week 4 in the NFL, and we are here to break it all down, give our predictions, and hopefully get through a injury-free Sunday because we hate injuries around here on FPC NFL Sunday. So if you paid attention last week, you'd see all the faces that you recognize that have been on the show so far. We got Kyle, we got Braden, we got Ricky, and of course, myself, your host, Ian Glendon. So good afternoon, fellas. Good morning, wherever you are, whether it's noon somewhere or 9 a.m., 8 a.m. I don't really care. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to NFL Week 4, guys.
Yeah, a lot of big games again this week. We had some shockers last week, so a lot of last-minute finishes again. Maybe we'll get some of those this week once again.
Yeah, hey, sign me up for that. It keeps things interesting, and of course, we will cap it all off today with the highly anticipated, depending, I guess, where you are in the country, highly anticipated return of Tom Brady to New England, which just hasn't been talked about at all this week. I don't know, guys. I haven't really been paying attention, but I don't think they've really talked about this matchup, have they? Don't answer that question. They clearly have, and not the topics that we want to talk about in that game. I mean, it's been a lot of drama talk when the reality of it is I think we all just want to watch the game because I think there is some intrigue, but we'll get to that game. There are a lot of really good games this week. I mean, that's the problem with not the problem, but the good problem the NFL has this week is you spent all week talking about Tom Brady versus Bill Belichick, Patriots, Buccaneers, and rightfully so. It's a big game on this NFL slate, but we got a rematch of the Super Bowl in this week with the Steelers and the Packers. We also have the Chiefs looking to avoid 3 straight losses for the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era. That's going to be a good game. So it's exciting. It's going to be a great week of football. And if you're a football fan, you should really settle down and get ready for what should be a really good slate of NFL games on a Sunday. So first up, though, let's talk about some of these old quarterbacks. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Big Ben. Obviously, always kind of in the mix of everything. Big Ben, the Steelers are kind of waning off, in my opinion, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the individuals. Obviously, Tom Brady is 68 yards away from surpassing Drew Brees as having the most regular season passing yards in NFL history. If you include postseason records, Tom generally holds all these records already, but most are celebrated regular season only. So in this case, Tom Brady's just 68 passing yards shy. Aaron Rodgers, 2 touchdown passes shy of Dan Marino. And once upon a time, 420 passing touchdowns was the benchmark in NFL history. So that's pretty impressive. Then, of course, Big Ben is ready to surpass Dan Marino in passing yards. He's about, I believe, 150 yards or so shy. So assuming he doesn't fall apart today, that record is going to be passed. I guess I'll throw it over to you, Kyle. We'll start with Aaron Rodgers because I think we all know the impact of the passing yards record. But how does this help Aaron Rodgers, I guess, legacy? Where does this, how much weight do you put into the passing touchdown record that, he's far off from, but he's entering the top 5 all time? How do you see that in Aaron Rodgers' ultimate legacy when he ultimately retires?
I mean, it makes a case for him to be a top 5 all-time quarterback. So I think right there, I mean, he might cusp of that. Some might even say he's already in that anyway. And this is more just icing on the cake and like the numbers solidifying it. But his play has kind of dictated that he's there. So I'm teetering. I think last time I heard the all-time quarterback rankings, I think I put him 6. So maybe it does, although the 5 that are ahead of him are just some of the greatest ever. So,
well, I will also throw in the fact that he's also, if he throws 3 touchdown passes, if he throws 4 touchdown passes today, he's at 418 right now. He will pass both Dan Marino and Phillip Rivers, who has 421 touchdown passes in his career.
Yeah, let's not confuse Phillip Rivers with the top 5 all-time quarterback.
Yeah, It makes you question the validity of that, but at the same time, I don't look. Phillip Rivers had an incredibly fine career of his own. Hall of Fame? I don't think so. But, I don't think he didn't throw 421 touchdown passes by chance. But you're right, though. He when you look at the rest of that list, well, actually, maybe Drew Brees, you might throw him.
That's what I say. They're both accumulators.
Yeah,
I love that word,
okay,
accumulators.
So, look, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, Dan Marino. Okay, those are the 5 guys that I think no one's going to have a problem with in this touchdown passing list. But, for me, Aaron Rodgers, I think it deserved every single one of those touchdown passes. Obviously, he's done a great job of protecting the ball. He hasn't, nearly the number of interceptions of guys like Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, and Brett Favre, 3 of the 5 guys ahead of him. So, what does that do? Well, I mean, when you're talking about at the end of all their careers, well, yeah, the low interception number certainly helps him out because, like, if you're talking about 3 guys that have roughly around the same number of passing touchdowns, and Aaron Rodgers will have to play, a few more really good years to really jump into that next level of over 500 and the Peyton Manning range, but he can separate himself from a lot of those guys just by virtue of not turning the ball over. Because Brett Favre, well, guess what? He throws a lot of interceptions. Peyton Manning threw a lot of interceptions. Drew Brees, we know his latter part of his career, but the first 2/3 of his career, he was throwing a lot of interceptions. So this is going to be big for him. I think, again, of all the negative things I say about Aaron Rodgers, it's certainly I have a lot of respect for him, and I certainly have a lot of praise for what he's done in his career, and this is going to be a nice little milestone for him. Coincidentally, these 2 players are going against each other today. I'm talking Ben Roethlisberger and Aaron Rodgers, who now I have the numbers in front of me. Ben Roethlisberger is, like I said, about 100 and it's just under 200 yards short of Dan Marino, and then next up would be Phillip Rivers, but that's another 1,500 yards away. So it should be interesting. We have some other in-the-moment sort of quarterback rankings, and I'm going to ask one of you guys because this is one of the storylines of this season that has intrigued me the most. Derek Carr. All of a sudden, through 3 weeks, Derek Carr looks like 2016 Derek Carr. He looks like a guy who's playing at an MVP level. He's throwing a ton of yards. He leads the league with 1,200 some odd yards. Actually, 1,203, which is dangerously close. Not dangerously close. That's the wrong word. It's creeping up to being the most yards thrown through the first 4 weeks of the season. And I'm going to read off the list of players that have this record currently. Dak Prescott last year, we all know how great of a start he had in terms of throwing yards, 1,690. I mean, that's a pretty big number to reach. I mean, Derek Carr is going to have to throw for essentially 500 yards to break that. Kurt Warner, 2000, 1,557. Tom Brady, 2011, 1,553. And then, of course, Patrick Mahomes, 2019, 1,510. So, 350 yards, and Derek Carr is looking at being one of the 1, 2, or 3 best starts through 4 weeks throwing the ball type situation. So I'll throw it to Ricky because he hasn't had a chance to really talk yet. How impressed are you with Derek Carr, and do you think this is sustainable? Because, every week so far we're getting on here saying, well, Derek Carr is looking pretty good, but how long can it last? Ricky, do you have an answer?
I think when you consider the circumstances of how good Vegas has been, Josh Jacobs has been banged up the entire season. I mean, Peyton Barber found the fountain of youth last week and ran for 100 yards and a touchdown, which I don't think anybody expected. Their offensive line was supposed to be the weak point of their team, and it's largely held up through 3 weeks. So you would think the offensive line is only going to get better as it's a younger group. I don't think the pace is sustainable because you would think as Josh Jacobs gets healthier, they'll put him more involved in the offense. You might see more Kenyon Drake as the weather gets colder when Vegas goes to maybe some colder weather environments late in the season. But, I mean, if Derek Carr is healthy, he's a pretty solid quarterback that I think a lot of teams and a lot of fan bases would want that kind of player considering where their state of the quarterbacks are in their organizations.
Braden, is he threatening Patrick Mahomes' reign atop the AFC West? Are we worried about that in Kansas City?
I don't think so. I think a lot of people from that standpoint are kind of waiting to see what happens in November and December first. But I will say, like Ricky said, I think they've done it very unexpectedly. Like he said, the offensive line, the pass rush from the defense. I know Carr doesn't have a lot to do with that, but they're winning in ways right now that a lot of people didn't expect them to succeed with. So with Derek Carr, it's just how much does John Gruden, I think, want to kind of play to this new school level and get away from his old school kind of mantra a little bit. That's going to be fascinating for me to watch with Carr moving forward.
What about you, Kyle? Where do you see Derek Carr in this hodgepodge of quarterback play? Because right now we all talk about quarterbacks. That's just, it's the fun part of football. I mean, it's entertaining. Yeah. It's a lot of debate, but I'm having a hard time placing Derek Carr because part of me wants to say, okay, I think this guy's finally showing off his talent. But then, like kind of Braden and what Ricky said, let's wait until November. Let's wait until later in the season and see if this is actually sustainable. What's your gut telling you?
Yeah, so top five's out of the question. So you look at you make the question: is he top 10 or not? Right? There's 5 spots in that
I think so.
Top 10 available. I think it depends what you want because, like, you look at a guy. So you talk about Carr and his talent. I mean, I've got the offensive line, so definitely not the Raiders, but the Ravens. For instance, I think I'd still Lamar Jackson. What he brings as a rushing game, it forces defenses to defend confidently, and you are seeing a bit of an upgrade in his passing. He's thrown some really accurate passes out, and that's really been the big weakness. And not just deep, but like in short passes outside the numbers, always been on target. So I think, like, to me, the running quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, obviously Josh Allen. I don't know. I'm not sure that I'd unequivocally put Derek Carr in the top 10 because I still think Kirk Cousins is a better quarterback, Matthew Stafford. So I think top 15,
I'd say right now, like just based on just the 3 weeks that we've played, I think that was my answer to the question. But if we're thinking bigger picture, yeah, I do think that there are other quarterbacks based on what we've seen over the last couple of years that are better. But based on what we've seen in these 3 weeks, yeah, he's one of the 5 best quarterbacks playing right now. I mean, that again,
it's probably the best to his credit.
Yeah. Again, I mean, it's right on par, I guess, with 2016 because he had a great, I believe he had a great start that year too, and then obviously the injury and some poor play down the stretch really, kind of stunted that season. But I don't know. Again, it's this enigma that is the Raiders. I mean, they're never dull. It's never you never know exactly what they're doing. I mean, it seems like since day one that John Gruden took over, he's been wanting to get rid of Derek Carr. But at the same time, it seems like he loves Derek. I can't understand it. It's just one of those things that, as long as Derek Carr is playing well, Raiders fans and the Raiders are going to be pretty happy, and it's going to obviously cover up some other weaknesses on the team, just like any team. I mean, if you have a great quarterback, it covers a lot of problems. So speaking of problems, the Titans might have a problem today, and actually they've certainly struggled a little bit to start this season. AJ Brown and Julio Jones are both out this week. The Titans have, I think they came in with a lot of expectations this season. I think higher than what they've been in the past. So I don't think that they're this under the radar, no one's really picking them type of team anymore. They're a team that I think everyone picked to win the AFC South. And, guess what? They've struggled a little bit to start the season. I mean, the defense is, questionable. And I think a lot of us anticipated that going into the year, but, it's been even more so in my opinion. And I think the offense hasn't been as sharp as we've seen it, especially in years past. And now they have to do it with their top 2 wideouts. Braden, I'll ask you first, what do the Titans do in this situation? Like how, where do they turn to? I mean, is the obvious answer the answer and hand the ball to Derrick Henry all the time?
I kind of think so. I think they kind of have to use Tannehill's dual threat ability that there is a little bit to his advantage as well. A lot of play action passing, a lot of short passes, I think, is kind of how they can capitalize off of this. That Westbrook-Ikhine, he's kind of been a guy that's already getting a little bit of increased targets with Tannehill, so he seems to be a favorite. But yeah, I think overall, especially this week against the Jets, I think Derrick Henry's the best course of action just because going up against a young team like that, I think they get mentally fatigued pretty quickly. So at least this week, I would ride Derrick Henry for sure.
Kyle, is Julio Jones, Andre Johnson 2.0.
I don't even know receiver is career wise, really. I mean, but both are incredible Hall of Fame receivers. So
I was gonna say in terms of leaving their team, going to another one, and becoming
going south to south teams, right? Going to the Colts for Johnson, south to south for Julio to the Titans. I mean, he looked good. Last week had a really good game. So I think with him, it's just more injuries. Whereas I think maybe still has a little bit more left in the tank than what Johnson did when he was with the Colts.
No,
but to Braden's point, to go off something Braden was saying, you're saying the short passing with those players. One of the things we've seen is, Tannehill can win games. He won 2 playoff games that one year with under 100 yards passing in each game, right? And a pair of touchdowns, though, right? So he's an efficient touchdown scorer, and he can unlock the deep passing with the help of play action here. You got to think the Jets are going to sell out to stop me, so take advantage and actually hit them deep. And you might only see Tannehill complete less than 10 attempts, but maybe get over that 100 yards just because he's hitting one or two deep passes in West Burkina. Chargers, I mean, I think Tannehill's efficiency can make it so guys like that can score, even like they can still use the deep ball even without Brown and Julio. I like Tannehill more than Carr. I know he struggled this year, but I still think Tannehill's a better Carr. So that's another guy.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, obviously taking into account their whole careers, I think that's a pretty easy, at least right now, statement to make, because again, I mean, you look at Ryan Tannehill and the numbers are there with some of the most elite quarterbacks in the league, and obviously he flew a bit under the radar, and I think we have enough evidence at this point to know that Adam Gase is essentially the killer of young quarterbacks. I've never seen someone put their claws so deep in those young quarterbacks and completely ruin them during his time with them. But right now, obviously Tannehill's struggling a little bit relative to what he has done. I do think they turn it around, and I do think I like Tannehill's long-term, I guess, viability more so than Derek Carr, because with the Raiders and with Derek Carr, I just kind of am just waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm waiting for the mistakes to pile up. I'm waiting for them to beat themselves and do it at a consistent level, which they've done a lot in the past. So before we move on to our next topic, Kyle, we actually have a fantasy question for you. So since you're our fantasy guru, we need you to answer this for Courtney. So I'm going to pull it up here on the screen. The question's going to be there. You need to start 3 of these guys this week.
Well, first off, I got to say Courtney.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so Cooks, Ridley, Williams, Thielen, and then Lockett potentially, who's questionable, right? So start 3 of those guys. Courtney, this is a real deal of a situation here, and I know Courtney does host the Real Deal podcast. So there's another pun for everyone. Now the Lockett is, I think that's the main crux here, right? I mean, he's got so much upside on a week-to-week basis, but so what's his health look like? And unfortunately, that's a 4:00 game, so you might not know if he's playing when you have to make this decision. So looking at that, if you want to leave Lockett in as your flex player, what you have to do is it's either him or Mike Williams in that flex spot, because what happens gets out, you might then you have Mike Williams to kind of fill into that flex spot. Whereas you might decide Lockett or Cooks, Lockett or Ridley, Lockett or Thielen before if Lockett's playing. So I'd leave Lockett, Williams as the flex spot, which means those wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 spots, it's really Cooks, Ridley, and Thielen. So having to bench one of those guys, I'd say Thielen is the must start to me. He's been on a roll. He's the touchdown pace, it almost seems unsustainable, but he just keeps doing it. Against the Browns, I expect, I think this is one of the 2 or 3 highest scoring games over under. So I think definitely Thielen. Between Cooks and Ridley, I think both face tough corners, but I mean, regardless of quarterback play, Cooks has just been producing. And I've got him as a top 10 wide receiver, even though he's facing Tre'Davious White. So I would actually say bench Calvin Ridley. And then in the flex, decide between locks. And then I would say wait till 4:00 before making that decision, because then you'll know maybe what you need. Either way, though, I think I might just go Williams anyway and just say bench Lockett, bench Ridley, and starting Brandon Cook and then Mike Williams. And that's how I would go.
Either way, it looks like a pretty good problem to have, having to choose between a grouping of wide receivers. And actually, that's a good way. This is kind of a good way to kind of transition into one of our little fun things Raider and I started doing. Now, this isn't necessarily fantasy focused, but the question we like to do every week and is we like to pose a start bench cut situation with some of the bigger stars or more relevant topics of the week. And since you brought up Cooks, he's number 3 in the league right now in receiving yards, which, again, Brandon Cooks may be the most underappreciated wide receiver to play in this league over the last 10 years, because no matter where he goes and who is his quarterback, it doesn't matter who his quarterback is, he just puts up 1,000-yard receiving seasons, and it looks like he's well on that pace this year. Well, he is one of 3 receivers right now that have over 300 yards receiving. The other 2, Devontae Adams, Green Bay Packers star, all-pro receiver, and, of course, Mr. Cooper Kupp, who, if you've watched any bit of Rams games over the last 3 weeks, you know that he is constantly getting the ball and making plays with it. So Brady and I did this last week. We like to have a little fun with it. So you're a NFL general manager. Now, this situation would obviously never, ever, ever actually come up, but we're playing a little pretend here. We're going to have some fun. Do you start, bench, cut, one of those 3? We all know the more PG-13 rated R version of this game that people play outside of sports. But in this situation, this is what we're going to decide. So I'll throw it to Ricky first. I'm going to put the pressure on him first. Start, bench, cut, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Brandon Cooks.
I definitely got to go start Devontae Adams. I mean, he's what makes the Packers offense roll. He seems to always be in the right place at the right time. Somehow he's left wide open in the last minute of the game last week, so I question what the Niners defense actually looks at. But he's definitely that go-to anytime I need a first down, get him the ball. Cooper Kupp, I would say bench, only from the standpoint when you look at their offense. I mean, you got to think eventually Robert Woods is going to get involved in that Rams offense. He didn't just disappear. So it's good to see Cooper Kupp at least establish a rapport with Matthew Stafford and how good the Rams have been. But eventually those touchdowns are going to get distributed. Cooper Kupp is not Megatron. He's not going to go hit those deep balls. Eventually the Rams are going to have to go down the field. And I would say Kupp, Brandon Cooks, but at the same time, as Ian pointed out, any quarterback he plays with, it seems to be successful. And you know from David Culley last week, they now know Davis Mills can get the ball down the field. They want him to get more involved throwing the ball. So even if Brandon Cooks gets cut, he'll usually just find his way somewhere else and somehow give you that garbage fantasy points that you need to win your matchup.
I like it. What about you, Braden?
Yeah, I think I got to agree. And with Adams, I mean, this is a defense he's facing today that usually has been so good against the pass. Joe Hayden right now is kind of the veteran guy that they're leaning on. Akello Witherspoon hasn't really produced much since coming over in the trade from Seattle. So I think just based off Pittsburgh's struggles right now on the back end, I think you got to continue to start Adams. And just because of the targets that he's going to get every game too. I mean, it seems like every play, those manufactured throws lead to so many big plays after the catch. So I think you got to start Adams. I'm going to agree with Ricky and bench Kupp and cut Cooks. I just think right now McVay's going to want to continue to air it out as much as he can, and Kupp's been the go-to guy. So I think you'd rather keep him around and allow Cooks to kind of hang out there, so to speak.
Kyle, you going to make it 3 for 3 so far?
Not entirely. And I think the way you pose the question, if you're an NFL GM, I think with Cooper Kupp, he's had success, but he's also had the benefit of maybe the best or one of the 2 best play caller designers really designing the offense around him getting open. Can he do that on his own on McVay? I'm less inclined to believe so compared to Brandon Cooks, who, as we've seen, he's done it with Tom Brady, but he's also done it with some scrubs like Davis Mills and Drew Brees and Jared Goff. That's a little insulting to Jared Goff. I'm sorry. He's a former first overall pick. Okay, yeah. But yeah, so I would say bench Cooks and cut Cooper because he start Devontae Adams.
All right. Well, guess what? I'm going to go different from all you. I'm starting Cooper Kupp. Give me the guy. I love Devontae Adams. I really do. But it's just watching Cooper Kupp. He's all over the field. And I think Devontae Adams does some things so incredibly well. I mean, I think he's one of the top 3 receivers in the league. But I think Cooper Kupp can do more. Doesn't mean he can do things better. I think he can just do more on the football field, and I think he's more of a tool. So if I'm creating a team, I might have to start him, sit Devontae Adams, and cut Brandon Cooks. And it's painful because, hey, look, this is why we ask these questions. They're not easy questions to answer. And I don't think there's necessarily a wrong answer here. But, I like the Cooper Kupp style wide receiver, a guy that can, always seems to be, I just don't understand how he's open all the time. Now, like to Kyle's point, that could be a lot of coaching, let's see what happens outside of it. Whereas Brandon Cooks has obviously shown that it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't matter what scrub quarterback, according to Kyle, and you can rewind a few seconds to find out which ones he named by name. You know what I mean? So maybe I'm just trying to be a little bit different here, but I'm going to go with starting Cooper Kupp, benching Devontae Adams, and cutting Brandon Cooks, just so hopefully Brandon Cooks can come to the Patriots. Okay, all right. Moving on. Next we have a question for you, and Braden, I'm going to ask you specifically. The Kansas City Chiefs are sitting at 1-2 right now. Now, there are a lot of factors in answering this question or trying to come up with an answer to this question. They have two teams right now in the AFC East that are currently at 3-0. The Chiefs at 1-2 have lost 2 games in a row, and look, their defense is not good right now. There's certainly a lot of flaws to it. They have trouble stopping, really good quarterbacks and certainly stopping any sort of short passing, especially in the linebacker group. How much of a panic, how much panic do you have for this team that could potentially, think about the bigger implications of all this? Only one bye week this year in the AFC. You're already technically 2 games behind in the division. You lose 3 games in a row to start this year, the Chiefs might be in trouble pretty early. How much panic do you have as someone who follows the Chiefs closely, Ricky, and then I'll throw it, not Ricky, I'm sorry, Braden, and then I'll throw it up to Ricky and then Kyle.
Yeah, I think if I had to put it probably on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably put it at like a 3 or a 4, just because I don't think they've really been figured out, so to speak. To a degree, I think there's certain things you can do to prepare that'll help you, but I think most of all, kind of the issues they've had the last couple years and now carrying over to this season, it's really just beating themselves. Now, I think like roster wise, I think this defense, it's not quite as worse as it was in the 2018 year when they still made the AFC Championship game, but it's close. I think a lot of people are done with Frank Clark. I think they're ready to eat the big dead cap money next year and ready for him to move on. I will say I'm kind of surprised the secondary right now is kind of struggling in man coverage more than they have in the past. But I think the receivers, like getting Josh Gordon, that's going to be big. No one expects him to be 2013 Josh Gordon, but it says a lot about the rest of the receivers behind Tyreek Hill. I think that's probably the biggest factor in this team that is worrying me right now, just because we've not seen McCole Hardman really change from what he was as a rookie. We haven't seen Demarcus Robinson go forward. He's gone back. So I think really the thing that is kind of most vital to Patrick Mahomes in the quarterback play, that's the biggest question to me. That's what gives me the most pause right now. So a lot riding on Josh Gordon. Sounds like he could be active next week. And I think having to run the football efficiently, that's going to be a big key for them. So I want to say there's major just because I think it's more options or issues, but certainly it's trending towards more and more panic each week if these problems kind of remain the same.
Ricky, which this past week free agent signing is going to help more? Richard Sherman with the Buccaneers or Josh Gordon with the Chiefs, the 2 Super Bowl competitors from last year?
I'm going Richard Sherman in Tampa Bay, honestly, because I just think we talked about it last week with Josh Gordon. You can't trust him to stay on the field. I think he can help, but is he that much better being out of the game for so long than a Mecole Hardman or Byron Pringle that have made plays in this offense? So I don't think the Chiefs' offense is that big an issue outside of turning the football over. And maybe Patrick Mahomes is not getting away with as many no-look passes as he used to. It's going to happen. But defensively, that's a big concern. They don't get after the quarterback. And when you don't get after the quarterback and you're trusting that secondary to make plays in this league where everybody's throwing the ball down the field, you're going to struggle as a defense. I think they'll be fine today, especially against Jalen Hurts. I think they'll be able to force him into some mistakes. But it's weird to see a Steve Spagnuolo defense struggle this much because we're used to Steve Spagnuolo dialing up pressures in a sense. Like Sherman's going to help Tampa largely because the Bucs just need a body at cornerback. I think with the Chiefs, like getting a receiver implemented into the offense is a lot tougher than getting a corner implemented into a defense.
Yeah, I mean, Richard Sherman's starting today. That's how desperate the Buccaneers are. He's practiced for 3 days, and he will be starting today against the Patriots. Kyle, I guess I'll throw it to you. Are you at all panicked about the Chiefs, or put your shoes in a Chiefs fan or someone who's within the organization, trying to get to their third straight Super Bowl? Are you worried about the long-term future of this team? And I'm talking long-term within this season.
I might even said 3 or 4 in terms of panic level. I might even go lower and say 2. Maybe it's because I'm not a Chiefs fan, but guess, 2 reasons. One, yeah, Denver and the Raiders but they haven't played the Chiefs yet. So that's 2 games against both those teams that, they tend to play the Chiefs pretty tough. That wouldn't surprise me if they split there. But I know Bridgewater's playing well. See how Denver's going to beat the Chiefs even in Denver. So I would guess 3-1 at how they go in that stretch, and that should be enough to kind of equal things out. The other thing, too, and I guess I'll transition to this quick question. Is it possible that all the wildcard teams this year in both conferences are West teams, that the NFC West send all their teams to the playoffs? It's 3 wildcard West teams in each conference. If so, then the Chiefs really have nothing to worry about. They'll make the playoffs, right? But, is it possible?
No, I mean, certainly right now, if you look at the NFC West, you have 3 teams that are undefeated right now. So almost the same thing in the AFC West. So yeah, I mean, right now, early on, sure. I think the NFC West certainly has more sustainability than the teams in the AFC West. I apologize if I mix up NFC and AFC.
I think you said that properly.
Okay,
I also think the competition in the NFC isn't as like the Bears aren't as strong as maybe we thought they were. The defense has been awful, and they've kind of gotten through games with Kirk Cousins playing maybe the best football he's ever played. So like if the defense can figure it out, that's scary. But otherwise, like that seems like it's a fairly easy for them to make it.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think teams like Carolina are better than we thought. I didn't put much stock in them heading into this season, but through 3 games, I think at the worst, they're a really good defensive team. We'll see what happens with Christian McCaffrey and everything like that. But I would probably agree that I would say it's probably the easiest, although I don't know. I mean, you could see 3 teams coming out of both those divisions. It kind of depends, in my opinion, what happens with. I think the AFC East is still a bit of a question mark. I think Buffalo is starting to look more and more like the team that we expected them to be, but I'm still not sitting here saying, well, that's it. Let's just plan for them to win the division and move on. I still think other teams like the Patriots could figure things out. I mean, again, it's too early for me to write them off based on what I've seen so far. There is some potential there. So. But right now, yeah, I mean, you're looking at 2 divisions, the West that has, some of the better teams. Now, again, I think we all agree that, well, honestly, I don't know, because look at Seattle. I was about to say, yeah, I think Seattle's better than Denver, but I don't know. Seattle's defense is awful. God awful. I think people just assume that, they're whatever. It's just the start of the season, but I really don't see how they're going to turn it around. This is going to have to be all on Russell Wilson's shoulder. So do I think quarterback wise are the Seahawks better than the Broncos? Yes. But I think the Seahawks are so bad defensively that I honestly don't even know if they're going to end up being one of these elite teams at the end of the year. So I think I'm talking myself out of that a little bit as I go on. So if I'm not mistaken, I think Seattle's given up the most passing yards in the league so far, and I don't know if they're going to turn that around. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. So let's transition here because we're kind of running out of time here. We have a lot to cover, and I think we've gotten to most everything. We'll have to save our coach conversation for another day because I do want to get to our play pickup props because I think I have some fun ones here that we can go through and have some fun. So. If you haven't already, go ahead and check out playpickup.com where you can put together all these great little prop bets and vote and win prizes and all that fun stuff. So ignore the one that's already on the screen. let's go to the first one. I will start. I'll throw it to Kyle. I'll go to Ricky and then Braden, and we'll keep that same rotation the entire time. Big showdown tonight in Foxborough. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are heading to take on the New England Patriots. Mac Jones in the spotlight going up against the former starting quarterback of the Patriots, Tom Brady. So how many touchdown passes will he throw against the very suspect Buccaneers secondary? Over, under 1.5. Kyle, I'll start with you.
I'll say over. I think the Patriots are good enough to score 2 touchdowns, but against the Bucs, I don't think they're running one in. So it's going to have to be through the air. So I think by necessity, because expect them to be a lot, I think it'll be a lot of throwing attempts, and maybe one of them happens in garbage time, but I'll take the over.
Ricky, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going the over too. You have N'Keal Harry also sounds like he's going to be activated today and play, and the Patriots are going to want to spread the football out. Like Kyle said, don't run the football in this Tampa front seven. And can we get Jacoby Myers in the end zone? He gets too many targets and not find a touchdown. So I'll say over and
career catches with no touchdowns. That's incredible.
I'll say over and get Myers in the end zone today.
I think he has a rushing rate in his career.
No,
does he have a throwing touchdown too? From
he has a passing touchdown. I believe.
Well, that's what it was. Okay,
but it's not. It's certainly not a receiving touchdown. Braden, what do you think? Over, under 1.5?
Yeah, I'm going over. I just think there's so much room that Tampa Bay's secondary is giving up right now, like way more than even people are realizing. So I think like Nelson Aguilar, you think about that play against Miami last year. I think we could see something similar to that tonight, where he just gets loose and it's a crazy touchdown. So. And then I think one will happen in garbage time. So give me the over here.
All right. It's a clean sweep. All 4 of us take the over. So, of course, naturally, he's going to throw one touchdown pass, and we're all going to be on.
Because Jacoby Myers is going to throw the other one. Because he actually has 2 career passing touchdowns.
There you go. Yeah. So there you go. We should have added him on the 1.5 over under. Next, Raiders Chargers. Justin Herbert versus Derek Carr. Over under 52.5 points in this game. Kyle. Once again, I will start with you.
Yeah, these division matchups tend to be a little closer than we expect. I know, even the Chargers-Cowboys game, that game to be a lot more high scoring. So I'm going to say the under, thinking that this gets a little closer. I know, like, Justin Herbert's maybe not % with the hand. It seems like he's going to play, like, not listed questionable at all, but Keenan Allen's questionable. So I wonder if this is made for shootout as we expect, and so I'll take the under.
The divisional matchup for me, I'm going to go with the under here just because I think this Charger defense could at least force a turnover or 2 on Carr. And with Austin Eckler at least bouncing out that Chargers offensive attack, I think you could see a 27-23 kind of game, and that would put you in the under. So give me the under.
Yeah, I also got the under. This Chargers back 7 and their speed. I think, we just talked about Derek Carr. I think they're going to give him some issues. But until the Raiders defense, stops playing like this, I think they're going to continue to give up less points than I expect. So I'll go the under.
And I'm going to have to go a little different. I'm going to go the over. I think there's going to be a lot of points in this game. I think there might be some turnovers too that add to it. But you got 2 right now, 2 of the young quarterbacks that are just playing really good. We've already talked about Carr. We haven't spent too much time on Justin Herbert, but he's arguably one of the best, if not the best, of these young first and second year quarterbacks. So I think there are going to be a lot of points scored in this game, although I do think it will be a close game because of the divisional aspect, and it just kind of seems that way. So next, Adam Thielen. Will he score a touchdown against the Browns? Book it? No chance. Kyle, we've already talked about Thielen. What do you think?
Book it.
Book it. Book it. Book it. Sign it up. Ricky, book it or no chance?
Riding the Kirk Cousins train. He's on fire right now. Let's go book it.
Braden?
Yeah, book it. Book it. He's among the touchdown leaders every single year, so I think I got to continue to ride that train.
All right, I'd like to go the opposite of you all, but I think that would be foolish. So I am booking it as well because, well, it seems like it's going to happen. Next, Kyler Murray versus Matt Stafford. More passing yards in Week 4. Kyle, what says you?
This one's tricky. I'm going to say Stafford because I think Murray can rely more on a run game, not just from himself, but from his running backs. Whereas Stafford, we'll see about Darrell Henderson if he plays. Sony Michel, maybe, but I'll say for pass yards, Stafford.
Time to differentiate for me. I'm going Kyler Murray here. And it's only because I think the Rams can run the football. We saw Sony Michel get 20 carries last week, and now you add Darrell Henderson into the mix. That's another 10, 15 or so carries. And the Cardinals, I think for Kyler Murray, remember last year he got hurt in week 17. I think Kingsbury's going to try to not get him to run the ball as much. And if the Cardinals are behind, Murray should get the ball more to Hopkins this week and more to Rondell Moore. And AJ Green had a rejuvenation, fountain of youth type game last week. So slightly over because Arizona's going to need to throw more than run. So give me Murray.
Yeah, I'm also going Murray here. It feels kind of weird because I think obviously the defensive back matchup a lot tougher for Murray by a landslide. But I think overall, like Ricky said, I think they're going to have to throw the ball a lot more. And I think just when you think McVay's going one way, airing it out a lot the first few weeks, he's not afraid to run the ball. And Darrell Henderson being back is going to be huge for him. So that I think that'll be Murray today.
Yeah, I'm actually going to make it 3 for Murray. So Kyle, you're the lone wolf in this situation. But I think the Rams. I think the Rams are set up for a bit of a sluggish start. I think they put a lot into their win over the Buccaneers last week. It showed based on the emotion. I think they just come out a little bit flat because we've seen them at times, struggle a little bit, whether it's offensively, defensively, and I think that'll be enough to give Kyler Murray a bit of a boost when it comes to that. So
he does have more passing yards than Stafford on the year. Murray does have more. He has 1,005. Stafford is 942. So maybe the numbers actually say you guys are probably right there.
Well, we're just smart. That's all we're saying. Next, how many points will the Lions and Bears combine for in Week 4? Now, Kyle, this is a NFC North divisional matchup against probably the 2 worst teams in the division. So, what says you?
Yeah, the game plan can't be as bad for the Bears than it was last week, right? I think that the Lions have had some success in the red zone, especially, and so that could be something where it's more touchdowns for the Lions than field goals. And I think that to push this over under to I could see both teams getting over 20 points. If the Lions do blow out the Bears because they're that pathetic as they were last week, I could see the Lions, getting into close themselves. So I'll take the over.
I'm going to go the under, actually, in this. So you look at the Bears in their first 3 games, the most combined points in those 3 games was 48. And that was a Rams team that won 34-14. So that would mean that's only 1 more touchdown than that number. Detroit also lost 19-17 last week, even though they shouldn't really have lost. Thanks, refs, for that not delay of game call and a crossbar that was too kind to Justin Tucker. I just think Matt Nagy can't screw this up with Justin Fields again, can he? I mean, I guess he can, but to me, these 2 teams, they're a tough time scoring in general. Bears defense is going to get some picks on Goff. Fields might throw some picks to the Lions. This is why there was this kicking with Keeler flip the channel game of the week. It's ugly. Give me the under.
I got the over here. I just think it's going to be one of those games where for some reason both these quarterbacks are as accurate as they may be all season. So I think there's going to be a lot of points, and I don't trust either defense really as well. So I think there's going to be a lot of chunk plays, a lot of quick drives. So give me the over.
All right. Well, I'm siding with Ricky on this one. I'm taking the under as well. I think it's going to be sloppy. And to answer your question, Ricky, yes, Matt Nagy can screw up Justin Fields one more time. And I'm actually banking on it. So I think this is going to be kind of an ugly game, and ugly games generally mean low scoring. And I think that's what we're going to get here. So next we have, there we go. Look at that. All I got to do is move my mouse and it already goes to the next one. Aaron Rodgers going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers for the first time since the Super Bowl. I believe he threw 4 touchdowns in that game. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle. But how many will he throw this week? Is it over or under 2.5? And I'll start with you, Kyle.
That's right. Because last time Steelers-Packers played, it was, oh God. They almost won that game too. That was maybe Brett Hundley's best game of his career. They still lost. I think the Steelers, that's secondary. I mean, Joe Hayden coming back I'm hoping that he shadows Adams, because I think Adams is better than him, beat Hayden most of the time. What I'm worried is, are the Steelers going to try and blanket cover Adams and then say, okay, Joe going to take out Alan Lazard? That might be the only recipe for success. But we've seen it's kind of a zone beater, a man beater, any type type of formation you throw at him, even he'll still find him. So I think they'll have more success through the air than on the ground. I know both the running backs are a little banged up this week. They both should play, but I could see them really relying on the passing game, even in Nathan Scripps when they're ahead. And I could see them even winning this game, throwing 40, 45 attempts just because they can. So I'll say over on this.
We're going to apply the logic to what Ian said earlier, in that he needs the 3 touchdowns to pass Dan Marino. Does anybody really see Aaron Rodgers passing Dan Marino in Cincinnati next week? He's going to force the issue to try to do it in Lambeau, and maybe Aaron Jones gets a touchdown, maybe tries to steal some of that thunder, but no, give me over 2.5 for Rodgers this week.
Yeah, I got to go over. I mean, and if Joe Burrow and Derek Carr are having as much success as, and I like both those guys, but if they're having that much success against Pittsburgh, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be even better. So, like Ricky said, I think he's going to force the issue today. I could see them getting almost 40 points if they don't reach it. So, give me the over.
Yeah, and you also have to take into account, too, I just think Big Ben is done. I think he's going to give the Packers more opportunities offensively through whether it's turnovers, fumbles, or just, ineffective play. So, yeah, I think this is a pretty easy over just for all the factors. And great point by Ricky. The passing Dan Marino is key. And that, Aaron wants to do that at home and not, like you said, in Cincinnati, where no one will remember it happening. So next we have, going to the other big game of the week, we have San Francisco obviously taking on Seattle. DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel, year 3 wide receivers. Who has more receiving yards this week?
I'm actually going to take Deebo just because DK is a little banged up, and I'm expecting a big Chris Carson week this week. Fantasy, he hasn't finished inside the top 12 yet, but I have him ranked, I think, 8. I just could see that the Seahawks really relying on the ground game, and more opportunities for Carson, especially with Kittle banged up. Deebo, I think, is a strong candidate to lead this team in targets, even if Kittle does play. So I'll take Deebo Samuel.
I'm going to disagree here. I'm going to go with Metcalf largely because even though Tyler Lockett's supposed to play, I mean, how healthy really is he? And there's not exactly much going on in that Seahawks offense besides Chris Carson. So you would think Metcalf's going to get the ball unless you get some weird 3rd, 4th wide receiver sightings for Seattle. And for the Niners, I think they kind of have to get back to somehow, even though you and all 4 of us are going to run the ball for the Niners still. They haven't found a running back yet. But they're going to have to run the ball at some point. And Jimmy or even Trey Lance are going to maybe Trey Lance steal some thunder with some carries. So just by target share alone, I think Metcalf gets a slight edge.
Yeah, I also got Metcalf. I think, you look at the Niners defensive backs who are out. Verrett's been out for a few weeks, and it hasn't really been the same. Now Josh Norman, K'Wan Williams, both banged up. I think I think the Niners in this type of division game might do what they do best with the running game. So I'm going to go Metcalf in this one.
Look, I think both of these guys are going to get theirs this week because, we've already talked about Seattle's defense. We're talking now about the 49ers. Secondary certainly isn't the strength of either of those teams. So I think both receivers are going to be able to make plays. But at the end of the day, I think Deebo reigns supreme. I mean, it may not be by much, but I still think it'll be enough to get him ahead. And I believe that was our no. Never mind. That was not our last one. Going back to Derrick Henry, we actually already talked about this a little bit here earlier. No Julio Jones, no A.J. Brown. Does Derrick Henry rush for over 124.5 yards in this game?
That's a large total, but it feels like he should match it, right?
Yeah,
everything we're saying, if it's just going to be so run heavy. So I'll take the over. Just I don't want to bet against Derrick Henry a lot.
I'm going to take the under actually here. Even in a good game last week, Derrick Henry ran for 113 yards against the Colts. And even though the Jets are bad, their run defense has largely been okay outside of Damian Harris with week 2 taking 5 Jets to the end zone. I mean, Melvin Gordon had a good game last week, but not to the point what this number is. And I think maybe Tannehill could steal some rushing yards. Maybe they bring in their backup running back to steal some rushing yards. So I'll go under, actually.
I'll go over here. I think there's a potential, just especially with Henry, of course, but with this Jets defense, a lot of potential for missed tackles today. So I think we'll see a few, 30-plus yard runs from Henry. So I'm going to go with the over here.
Yeah, and that's really what it hinges on with me. I don't think he's going to have a wall-to-wall dominating game, but I think there's going to be enough opportunities that there are going to be breakdowns on the Jets side that, like Braden said, he's going to pick up big chunks on just a handful of plays, and I think that'll be enough to reach, relative to Derrick Henry, a pretty modest number of 124 rushing yards. So
it's actually like his last 15 regular season games, it's almost 50-50, 7 times gone over 125 yards. So you look at that number as kind of, that's intimidating at first, but again, over his last 15 regular season games, it's basically been 50-50 on that. So yeah, I feel a little more confident in that over, actually.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, the guy could go off for 250 yards and no one would blink. So, all right. So we got about, roughly 7 to 10 minutes left here. So we're going to rapid fire through our game picks because we got a lot of games to pick. So I'm just going to go. I'm going to start. I'm going to throw it to Kyle. And we're just going to go right around the horn and have some fun with it. And I hope everyone forgets when we get all these wrong. So, of course, Jacksonville already lost this week. So they're already at 0-4. So we're going to skip right over that game on my sheet. We'll go right to Houston actually, you know what? Since I have it up on the screen and since we're all looking at it, let's just go in the order in which they put it on the screen to not confuse everyone, because I have a different order on here and I think it would just throw people off. So we'll start with the Lions at the Bears, 1:00. Who do you have? Actually, I'll start. I'll go with, I don't know who I have. Who do I have? Lions and the Bears. The Bears. All right. Actually, I don't even know who I have. Oh, the Lions. Here we go.
Want me to go? Are you looking for it?
I had to find I had to center myself because I have a different sheet than the one that's up here. So I had to find out where these teams were.
Was it in a flank 2 position?
Yeah, I was in a flank 2 position. No, I was actually using our friends over at Tally site. I was using our printout from there, so it was a little bit different from here. But no, I have the Lions winning this game. I think they're due for a win. They've come close. They should have won last week. I think that they pulled this one off against a very inept Matt Nagy-led Chicago Bears team. So, Kyle, Lions.
Yeah, I'll follow the coaching and say Dan Campbell's the better coach, and the Lions avoid or start themselves and beat the Bears on the road.
Perfect. Ricky?
This pick changed for me midweek. I think we've learned when everybody wants to pick the Lions, don't pick the Lions. I can't see Justin Fields actually being this bad 2 weeks in a row. I think they're actually going to not have an Andy Dalton offense for him. It'll be his own offense. Ugly game, but Chicago squeaks it out at home.
I got Detroit. I think, like Ian said, they've been close every game, and Chicago really, I mean, they should have lost the one game they won. So get the first win for my guy, Dan Campbell, today. Take care of business. I like the Lions.
Next, we have the Washington football team taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Give me Washington in this one. Atlanta just isn't a good team right now. They don't have an offense. They don't really have a defense, and they've done nothing to show me that they can win this game. So give me Washington in this one.
I'll make it simple. Give me the better quarterback. I'll take Washington because I think Heineke's better than Matt Ryan right now.
Oh, fire takes today. It's crazy. I'll have to mash these up for people to consume on Twitter. Ricky, what do you think?
The Falcons needed 10 points in the fourth quarter just to squeak by the Giants last week, and the Giants' defense is slightly worse than Washington's defense. Although Washington has struggled, somehow the football team's going to win. I don't know how, but they're going to win.
Yeah, I got Washington as well. I think too much weapons for this porous Falcons defense, and like you said, I mean they needed a lot of help to score late last week. So give me the Washington football team here.
Next, we got the Panthers heading to Dallas. This is an interesting game. This was a tough one to pick. Ultimately, I landed with Dallas at home. I do think they have the better quarterback, of course, but I also think the Panthers defense is pretty good, and I think they're just a well-coached team. But ultimately, Dallas is going to win this one at home.
I think one of the things we've seen is that Dak Prescott has performed consistently, even against tough defenses. Like you think about Week 1 against the Buccaneers, is that I don't think like as impressive as the Panthers have been. I don't think that front seven is better than what the Bucs have. So I think if he was able to win that pressure, and I mean they didn't win against the Bucs, but again the quarterback difference is in favor of the Cowboys. So I will also pick the Cowboys.
Dallas only had 6 days to prepare for this game. Carolina's had 10. And you look at their linebacking core. I love Shaq Thompson this game. I think Darnold does just enough, and Dak makes one too many mistakes. Panthers go to 4-0.
Give me the Cowboys. I think this is one of those games where the Panthers offense could fall flat compared to what they've been lately. Dallas defense has impressed me enough, so I think they'll get a couple of turnovers, and I just can't see Sam Darnold without McCaffrey outscoring this high-powered Cowboys offense.
Next, we have the Buffalo Bills hosting the Houston Texans. Give me the Bills. They've looked a lot better the last couple weeks as opposed to week one, and Houston is still Houston. And as much as Davis Mills showed a little something, I don't think it's sustainable. So I think Buffalo wins this one fairly easily.
Bills. That's all I got.
Yeah. Ricky, Bills?
Yeah, Bills.
Bills.
Yeah, Bills.
Is that TLC song, right?
Yeah, I don't need to waste time on it. I think, especially with Davis Mills, it definitely kind of weakens their chances. So Buffalo.
All right. We have the
no scrubs here.
Yeah, right. Speaking of, Titans at the Jets, 1:00 game. As much as the Titans are struggling, I think this is going to be a pretty fairly comfortable victory for them over the Jets. So give me the Titans on this one.
Derrick Henry wins this game. I mean, the Tennessee Titans win this game.
Zach Wilson actually finds the end zone for the first time since week one, but the Titans still win.
Yeah, Titans here. I mean, the Jets, a lot of trouble scoring so far. I don't know if that's really going to improve this week, even against the Titans defense. So Tennessee should win pretty comfortably here.
All right. Next, we have the Saints hosting the Giants. It is a even week. So I might have to go and take the Giants if I hadn't already taken the Saints, and here I go losing this again. No, I actually took the Saints. I like what they've done defensively. I like how they've played. I still think that Jameis Winston is a liability, but I think in this game in particular, I think they'll handle the Joe Judge-led Giants fairly well. So Saints on this one.
I did rip on Drew Brees for being a scrub. Man, that Drew Brees Eli Manning game, that shootout. I mean, I rip on both those quarterbacks quite a bit, but I don't think Daniel Jones or Jameis are capable of that. No. I'll actually take the Giants. Maybe just because I like to hate on the Saints. So, but Jameis really hasn't been impressive at all. And I mean, the Blake Martinez injury is really going to hurt the Giants. But I don't know. I think I get the chance of the week.
Before we all go to San Francisco and play running back for the Niners at 4:00, we're all going to go play receiver for the Giants because Darius Slayton's out, Sterling Shepard's out. I mean, Daniel Jones can run, but you also have to consider this is an emotional game for the Saints. First game in the Superdome. New Orleans has gone through a lot over the last couple of months. So with that being said, give me the Saints. I don't know how they don't win today.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going. They're back in New Orleans, and this defense, like you said, without the receivers for the Giants, I think Daniel Jones is going to have a tough time today. So Saints win pretty comfortably here.
All right.
I think John Ross is going to make all the difference. Sorry.
Next we have the Colts at the Dolphins. It's the Jacoby Brissett revenge game. Give me the Dolphins in a game that I think is going to be kind of a stinker because I'm not really feeling too confident in either of these two teams. So at home, give me the Dolphins in this one over the Colts.
The thing is, like, revenge game. I mean, they paid him pretty well for what he for them, so I don't know how much revenge he needs to get on them.
It was obviously a little tongue-in-cheek there, Kyle. Come on now. Go ahead. Anyways.
But I'm hoping that my love for Jonathan Taylor isn't viewed as tongue-in-cheek. I think this is the game where he finally gets on track. He is questionable, so maybe it's not, but hopefully anyway.
I'm looking at the stat sheet from last week. Jacoby Brissett actually can throw the ball more than 20 times. I mean, last week he threw it 49 times against Vegas, and they did take Vegas to the final play in overtime. And Quentin Nelson's out for the foreseeable future for the Colts. They can't run the ball without him. Dolphins defense is actually not bad. Miami gets to 2-2.
Yeah, I got to go better defense here with this quarterback matchup. And really, I think Jacoby Brissett surprised me in a good way last week. Just a lot of good decisions, I think, pushing it down the field when he had to. So Dolphins win this one in a tight one.
All right, next we got the Browns at the Vikings. I don't really have too many reasons other than I just like the Browns in this one. So even on the road, give me the Browns over the Vikings.
I like the Browns better if it's a lower scoring game. Control the pace with Nick Chubb, especially with Dalvin Cook out. Like that's I think how the Browns' recipe for success. Because I mean they destroyed the Bears, but they didn't great on offense. It was just because the Bears were so inept on offense themselves that like never going to win that game. But like I think for if this turns into a shootout, I trust Kirk Cousins a lot more than Mayfield. So I think with the game being as high scoring as I think it'll be, I'm going to say the Vikings win it at home.
Sounds like Dalvin Cook is going to play today, and this is a Vikings offense that has been, dare I say, clicking on all cylinders through 3 weeks. They really should be 3-0 when you look at it. I think this is a game where the Vikings come out and they get a victory at home.
Yeah, I got the Browns. I guess not a lot of reasons for me. I don't really trust Mike Zimmer, so Kevin Stefanski. I think this is a little bit of a return for him to Minnesota. I think he's determined to kind of show his muscles a little bit, and I like Cleveland.
Next, we got Andy Reid returning to Philadelphia, another storyline that's going a little underplayed based on what we have. Sunday Night Football, we talked about the Chiefs trying to avoid 3 straight losses for the first time under Patrick Mahomes, and I think they do that. I think this game will be a little bit closer than some might anticipate, but give me the Chiefs in this one.
Sorry, Braden, I'm going to choose the Andy Philadelphia Reeds Eagles. I don't know. As bad as maybe the Eagles have been this year. So I don't think 3 in a row. Like I could see it. Okay, divisional opponent of the Chargers last week, who finally won a close game in that. But yeah, I think the Chiefs are going to wipe the floor with the Eagles.
Yeah, it's hard to see the Chiefs losing 3 in a row. And the Eagles Monday night against Dallas, so short week here, and they only ran the ball 3 times last week when it wasn't Jalen Hurts, which is insane. They're going to have to run the ball a little bit more, but even then, Kansas City's going to win.
Yeah, I think this game, a lot of good matchups for Kansas City across the board with their receivers against their corners. I'm actually really excited to watch both sides of the trenches because I think Eagles O-line against Chiefs pass rush, weakness versus weakness there, but strength versus strength, Chiefs O-line versus Eagles pass rush. So a lot of fun matchups, but I think Chiefs pull it out.
And to start the 4 o'clock slate, we have the Cardinals in a divisional matchup against the Rams in Los Angeles. Give me the Cardinals in this one for a lot of the reasons I mentioned before. I think the Rams are, coming up a little high off their win against the Buccaneers, and I think they're going to start a little slow. So give me the Cardinals in this one.
Cardinals have been struggling. I mean, barely. Not barely. I mean, they did comfortably get a bit of a margin against the Jags, but that looked a little scary for a bit. And I think with both these rosters talented, to me, the biggest difference isn't on the field, it's coaching. I think that the mass difference of worlds between quality of coach from Kingsbury and Sean McVay in a close divisional game, I think that might be enough for the margin of victory. I say the undefeated streak going and beat the Cardinals.
Thank God this isn't week 17 from last year when it's John Walford against some backup from Arizona. Can we please not have that this year? But like Kyle said, Sean McVay owns Cliff Kingsbury. This is with Darrell Henderson back. The Rams are more balanced. Arizona, I think, will be competitive, but I think the Rams get to 4-0.
I agree. I think the Rams can win this with their B game. As good as Arizona's been, I think they really have to be perfect today in this matchup. So I like the Rams.
All right. Next, we have another NFC West matchup. We have the Seahawks traveling to San Francisco. Again, I don't like this Seahawks defense right now. I don't see them turning it around overnight. So at the end of the day, I think there's going to be a pretty wild game that comes down to the last second, and the 49ers walk away as victors.
I think Chris Carson dominates this game and leads the Seahawks to.
Seahawks haven't lost 3 straight since 2011. This is a desperate team. Kyle Shanahan has 2-6 against Seattle, and the Seahawks don't want to lose 3 straight and then play the Rams on Thursday. Go with the more desperate team. Give me Seattle.
49ers fans will probably not like this because I've been wrong every game with the Seahawks, but I'm going to go 49ers. I just think at home, I think honestly the defense, like you mentioned, I don't think it'll hold up for all 60 minutes. So give me the 49ers here.
And next, we have the Ravens at the Broncos, undefeated Broncos. The Ravens squeaking out a victory last week against the Lions. I like the Ravens in this one. I think Denver's undefeated run comes to an end against, in my opinion, their most toughest opponent. So give me the Ravens in this one on the road.
It's like Denver's schedule so far has been the opposite of TLC. It's been only scrubs. So yeah, I think they finally that's worthy of beating them. And I think the Baltimore Ravens get the road win in Denver.
Could disagree with both of you. I'm going Denver. I think the Ravens were lucky to get out of Detroit with a win. You got Lamar Jackson running, but running in altitude. And this is a Broncos team that seems to be clicking at the right time. I know they've played bad teams the first 3 weeks, but I don't think we know what the Ravens are yet. I mean, they really should be 0-3, and you think about it, Hilaire fumble really cost the Chiefs that game anyway, as Braden would know. So give me Denver. I think they get a win here.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I think I'm just going to lean on the better quarterback and the better coach. I think there's just so much that the Ravens are having to kind of rely on right now, that they have to kind of win week to week in order to keep up with some teams. So I like Baltimore. Don't know how confident I am in it, though.
Next, we have the Packers hosting the Steelers. I think this is pretty simple. I think the Packers are just a better team than the Steelers. I mean, the Steelers could potentially be just a bad team all year. So give me the Packers at home in this one. Pretty easy pick, in my opinion, unless anyone disagrees.
For the audio, only holding up my Packers shirt, Green Bay is going to win this game.
Bring in one receiver for Pittsburgh, take out the other. Deontay Johnson in, Chase Claypool out. Green Bay should win pretty comfortably.
Yeah, Green Bay, I mean, I don't really have much to add to this one. It's home game. I think they should win. Scored a lot of points here.
Now, last but not least, the New England Patriots hosting Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Look, this is a game I don't think the Patriots are ready to win yet. If this happened halfway through the season or towards the end of the season, perhaps I think they'd be able to figure it out and have a better opportunity. I think it's going to be a close game, but ultimately, I can't. As much as I'm rooting against Tom Brady today for the first time in my entire life, I cannot pick against him in this game. I have the Buccaneers winning this one.
I was gonna say this has to be the most conflicted in entering a football game, isn't it?
I try. I'm very confused right now. Let's put it this way.
well, I'll make it simple. I think the Bucs are going to smash this game, and I don't think it will be close.
I'm in the same conflicting boat Ian is in. To me, if the Patriots lose this game by less than 2 touchdowns, it's a victory. And I actually think Belichick's scheme is going to be interesting to watch. He gets credit for containing Patrick Mahomes, and it sounds like the Patriots are going to call up a lot of defensive backs. They're going to make Tom Brady want to run the ball, even though he's not going to want to run the ball. So maybe if Brady doesn't run it and throws it, maybe he throws a turnover. Maybe I'm trying to talk myself into it, as you can tell. I'm shocked the spread's still 7.5. I don't know why the spread is so low. I think Belichick keeps it close into the third quarter, which is kind of a win because Bill's been ripped all week. I think he's got something in the folder somewhere. No Gronk, I think, helps New England's chances, but Tampa wins.
Yeah, Tampa Bay wins. I think you're right as far as the spread. I'm wondering why it's a little too low as well. I'm going to be interested to see how many touchdown passes Brady throws. Even without Gronk, I think it's going to be fun to see how hard he tries to just run those up. So I got the Bucs here.
Yeah, the spread's probably where it's at because of, again, how poor the Bucs secondary is right now and just their lack of body. So thank you, everyone, for hanging with us for a good hour and 10 minutes, and we hope that it got you ready for this weekend's NFL slate. Stay tuned in just a little bit. We have Kyle sticking around. He's going to be doing our fantasy football show here on Full Press NFL on Twitter. And, of course, you can check us out next week on Thursday, of course, and next Sunday as we break down all of Week 5's action. So thank you, everyone. Give us a follow on Twitter at Full Press NFL, at Full Press Radio, and, of course, head over to fullpresscoverage.com to check out all of our big previews for this week's action. And, of course, stay tuned after all the games to get all the breakdown and everything like that. For Kyle, for Braden, for Ricky, I'm Ian Glenn, and I'm saying have a great day, enjoy football,